Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. We find ourselves this week where we left off last week, and that is in the city of Poznan, and of course the country is Poland, and this is just about halfway between Berlin and the capital of Warsaw.
Hey, did you get a look at that hamburgery?
Yeah, then that's something?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'd already had lunch, so we didn't really have to
I know,
stop
but
there,
I think it's funny, hamburgery.
Right. Oh, and so it's time to get back on the bus after a little bit of lunch. And look here, we've got the ladies are playing cards. How
The
about
three
that?
sisters.
Yeah, but I think there must have been 4 of them playing, huh?
Well, there were 3 sisters, though.
Who's winning?
We are.
Are you
What is it? Is it 2 against 1?
We're playing with Henrietta.
Boy, that was the thing with this great big bus that we had. You had lots and lots of room. You could play cards, or you could probably play soccer in that.
Had a lot of advantages and some disadvantages. I prefer myself the one-level bus because you can be more intimate. On the bus, if you want to be intimate.
Okay.
But the gals and the people downstairs had a great time. I know Dr. Garcia spent a lot of time down there with Lily.
It was a double-decker bus, and it was really something. I liked it because I could go up and take shots from up above and then sometimes down below.
And take a little nap.
Yeah, right. It was a little bit bouncy, as you can see right here. Now, this monument over here, as you can see, and we passed it the last show, that was put up for the recognition of all of the people that had fought in the various resistances during the various times that Poland was occupied. And, of course, we know that it was occupied by the Germans, and it was also occupied by the Russians as well. But anyway, we are going to sort of leave Poznan right now. You know, this was a Sunday when we were here, and so a lot of things were, well, most everything was closed except just the restaurant, I think, where we had our lunch, and that was a very nice experience there. But in Poland, you're still going to find that most of the places will close on Sunday.
Thanks be to God.
Yeah, and it's really kind of nice, and you know that Sunday really is reserved for a day of worship and a day of rest and a day to be with your families. So we found that very, very strongly in the country of Poland. And Betty, you were very surprised, you said, with the beauty of how Poland was. I know you came back and talked to friends of ours here that are of Polish ancestry, and you said, I'm never going to tell another Polish joke again.
No, I love the Polish people. They're marvelous. They're so strong, and they're so patriotic. And I could go adjective after adjective after adjective. And you're right. No more of those dumb Pole jokes for me. I will be up in arms.
Yeah. Well, this is just some of the countryside here, as we see. Of course, we are traveling now east because we are going to travel toward the capital of Warsaw, which was not always the capital of Poland, and we'll learn about that a little bit in this episode and also in the next episode here at the Adventures Travel Club. But I really liked this. I thought it was so beautiful.
What's so interesting, really, Marv, about it is the different colors showing the different kinds of crops that are being grown. And, you know, you look at the greens and greens and greens, and what do you think of? Oh, how many shades of green in Ireland? Was it 40?
Something like that,
the song. And there were all kinds of shades of greens and beiges. I presume that must be wheat that's growing there.
Wheat, oats, or barley, I think. Perhaps one of those. I'm not sure.
Well, something that is beige color. So take your pick.
Yeah, I want that field to be in a beige color, so let's grow something that's going to be
grow
in beige. Right? Okay, we grow beige, right? And we pass through a lot of little villages, of course, on our way from Poznan on to Warsaw. And this, look at this. Now, this has been made into a hotel. I would imagine this looked like it was a huge estate at one time, Betty, don't you think? And look, we're going to get it close to the building. I mean, we go by it pretty fast, but whoa, don't you think that must have been a stately home at one time?
Yes, yeah. It really looks more like a government building than it does a home, but the grounds, it was like a palace.
Oh, yeah, I think it probably was. And, you know, as we get into Warsaw, too, we're going to travel through some of the city streets, and there were magnificent homes. I mean, magnificent homes. And days of yore, I guess, if that's what you want to say. And
not my days.
Not your days?
You said days of yore?
days of yore.
Not your day.
Right? No, I
your
spelled
days,
it, spelled
not
it differently than
oh,
that.
okay.
But
All
anyway,
right.
but today they're just too expensive to keep those up. And I'm sure that when communists were in there, that they converted all those to government buildings, just like what you're going to say there. I
Yeah.
mean, what you'd said rather. But anyway, I was again so impressed with beautiful forest areas, and then of course the farmland too.
That's the
Nice.
amazing thing, the forest, and then flat, 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 and then you see a stand of trees again.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what the trees were. Do you, Marv?
No, I think there were several different types of
Were
trees. I
there?
mean, in the various
They weren't
areas that we
fruit
went
trees,
through.
though, were they?
No,
they weren't
no,
bearing.
they weren't. They were some sort of a fir tree, I believe. And this is the thing too that always interests me is as we get into to Eastern Europe, and we've seen this in Russia, as you recall, only on a grander scale. These greenhouses or hothouses, of course, these now mainly are for individual farms, as we see here, and some maybe a little bit larger farms. But we notice that in the east part, where it gets so cold, of course, in the wintertime, that they really have to have that to keep those crops, growing during the wintertime.
I don't know if we have any teachers or ex-teachers with us. Anybody from the teaching profession? But the school holidays here have started. Have they started in the States for children?
Yes.
And in Europe they start school at 6 years of age. The child must have had its 6th birthday. And they have only one intake a year, and that's normally the first Monday in September is the beginning of the school year, and your child must have had its 6th birthday before it can start. So some children are almost 7, because they only have that one intake every year. And the children go to school between the ages of 6 and 10, and they go to school in the morning only. They start school at 8 o'clock in Europe, and they go to school until midday. And they go home and they remain at home for the rest of the day. You know that they go to school Saturday morning in Europe, and then Saturday lunchtime, beginning of the weekend. I've already mentioned about the shops closing early afternoon on Saturday, and the trucks in Western Europe being off the roads. They haven't got the law here yet in Poland. They're not quite up to the standards of Western Europe, to put it mildly, but to the grammar school, as we call it, the high school, and the not so bright children will go to a secondary school. And you can leave school here at 15 years of age, 1-5. But most children stay on at school until 16, if they're clever enough, and if they want to go to university, then they will stay on at school until 19 years of age, and then they will do the entry qualification necessary for university. So they normally start university here at 19 years of age. From the age of 10 years onwards, they go to school in the afternoon. It's only the small children from the age of 6 to 10 years attend school in the morning only. So from 10 years upwards, they go to school. They have about a 1.5 hour lunch break, and then they go to school in the afternoon until about 4:30. Starting from the age of 3 till 6 years of age. And this is subsidised by the government. And again, universities are free in Europe.
Well, it is nice that the universities are free in Europe. I didn't realize that, did you?
Sure, let's send our kids over to Europe and give them an education and also a free trip.
Yeah, hey, that's a very good idea, isn't it? Yeah. Well, anyway, we are continuing to travel along toward the capital of Warsaw. And as we do, there's a lot of wonderful things to see on this highway as we go through the little villages and the little towns. And the weather changed a little bit. We got a little bit of rain and then more sunshine, and it was delightful.
It was good. Now, see, these kind of roads I like. I mean, this kind of traveling
And
on
that's
the
the
bus.
main highway, too.
Yeah, but see, it's diversified. I get sleepy when we just go miles and miles and nothing.
You mean on a highway or an
Yeah,
interstate?
yeah. Give me these little rural towns. It might be a little slower, but you said this is the main highway.
That's
but
it.
but look at every place you look, there's something. Just like what was in the street.
Really?
Yeah.
There is. It's nice, and I just love to just sit there and watch, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, we came through a couple of places where they were having funerals, and on this particular trip,
yeah.
and
And they walk?
They walk. They were carrying the casket from the church to the cemetery, which was just down the road a little ways, and bingo, everybody was there. It was interesting.
Of course, if this wasn't a Sunday, I'm sure it would look a lot different. No, this isn't Sunday now.
This
though,
is
huh?
Sunday.
It's
yeah.
still Sunday.
Yeah, still Sunday.
Because
and
now
we
we're
have now
coming,
arrived
yeah.
with red hair No, into Warsaw. You know, I was just thinking, I wonder if that person came from Berlin from the Love Parade, because so many of those kids in Berlin, they came from all over Europe, you know, and a lot of them had their hair
That
different
could be,
colors.
but I think the color they had probably would have faded by now. But I don't know. That was
Oh, this
that
was only the
bright.
next day. If you remember, this is the next day after
Oh,
the Love
Marv,
Parade.
it's so hard to keep track of time when you travel.
Well, it wasn't Belgium and it wasn't Tuesday. It
So
was Poland and
it
it
was
was Sunday,
Sunday,
right?
huh?
Yeah. Anyway, this is our entrance, and now we have
Yes.
arrived into Warsaw, and this is just looking out the hotel window, and we are really in a very, very nice central location here in downtown Warsaw. And I really appreciate this because you could go out and walk, and there was so much to see when, you know, if you had free time around here. But we are going to take a city tour because now this is Monday morning. Betty, just to
We
acquaint you,
did-
right?
yeah, we
right.
did spend the night.
We spent the night, right? And so we're going to join our Polish guide, who's going to give us a city tour of part of the city. So let's sit back and relax and listen to her now.
Good morning, or in Poland we say dzień dobry. That's good morning, good afternoon, good evening. As long as it is not dark, you can say dzień dobry in Poland. And in the city center, because this hotel forum is well located in the area in central part of Warsaw, downtown. So this is the area where many state offices, many stores are located. Maybe you had time also to notice that there are department stores just across the street from your hotel. Yeah. And many stores in other houses located in this area. And probably you also noticed the tallest building in this city, the tallest in Poland, a Palace of Culture and Science. At the moment to the left in front of us, Palace of Culture and Science was constructed in the 1950s by the Soviet architect, so it represents Soviet Russian style, so-called social realistic style. We don't like this building very much because it was constructed at that time when Poland was under Soviet domination. And this is not Polish style but Russian, and if you go to Moscow, Russia, you will see 7 buildings like this one. So many people wanted to destroy it. They just wanted to pull it down a few years ago after the fall of communism in Poland. They wanted to forget communism and to destroy this building. But it is not easy to forget 40 years in your life, and it would not be easy to destroy this building. So it will remain forever just a landmark of Warsaw. There are many offices inside. There are 2 museums in that building, 2 theaters, 2 cinemas, a big swimming pool, and on top there is a viewpoint. So you have time, there are elevators in that palace, of course, and in 20 seconds you can be on top and you can see very nice panoramic view of Warsaw. Actually, if we had better weather, the view would be better. And this view is the best, Warsaw people say, because from the top of that house you can see everything except the palace itself, which is to many people the ugliest building in this city. As for this weather, it's not typical for July, this weather. July is normally very hot. This year in June we had very, very hot days in Warsaw, almost 3 weeks, and the temperatures every day 90-95 Fahrenheit. So it was very hot, but now it's a bit cooler. It's maybe not that bad, as long it is not raining heavily, of course. This city is 700 years old, but most of the buildings in this city are not very old. Because this is the city with a very dramatic history, full of wars, battles, invasions, destructions. During World War II, almost totally destroyed. 85% of destruction during World War II. So the buildings you can see here, like at the moment, this is Constitution Square. They were constructed in the 50s. To the right you can see the entrance to the subway, where this red M with an arrow, that's the entrance to the subway, because in Polish, like in many other languages, subway is metro, so M for metro. This is a new subway. It's just 4 years old. It's a very short line, but it is still under construction. Now we have in this city not only red M for metro, but also yellow M, you see to the right at the moment. This yellow M for McDonald's you are familiar with. This is new element of our lifestyle, McDonald's and other fast foods, because under communism we didn't have that here, but now they are everywhere in this city. So, 9 years ago the changes started in Poland, political and economic changes. They changed economic system in Poland, free market economy was introduced to Poland, and of course all the democratic freedoms were brought back to our country. So for those last 8-9 years, Poland has changed very, very much. And Poland now is more open to the West, to good and bad influence from the West. We are now entering the area which was very elegant before the war. Many rich families built their villas or palaces in this section, but during the war Polish people were not allowed to live here. During the war, German occupation, German occupants resided here. Generals, high-rank officers, they resided in this section. And nowadays, this is our diplomatic district. We have many diplomatic and state offices in this section. Like to the right, there is a residence of the British ambassador. Next building, it will be a Swedish embassy to the right.
And we will see the American embassy a little bit later, but it's not right here. But we're heading toward a very interesting area, but she's taking to this park area. And I found this, once we got inside, to be very exciting.
And now I would like to make our first stop, because you can see many things from the bus, but there are many beautiful things you can't see from the bus. And just in front of us, you see there is a big park, Royal Łazienki Garden. Oh, even sunshine is coming. It's good, because this is a perfect place for pictures. So you will see here a very nice setting and a nice statue. That's Frédéric Chopin statue. Frédéric Chopin, great Polish pianist, composer. His statue is situated in this park, Royal Łazienki Garden.
Marv, this was a huge park. It had about 250 acres and lots of roses, and was very beautiful.
His head, that's a willow tree. Like this, you see, weeping willow, a tree common in Poland, especially in central Poland, and Chopin was born here. Not actually in Warszawa, but in a tiny village, Żelazowa Wola. Can you repeat this name? Maybe those who can speak Polish. Almost perfect, but you must, practice. So Żelazowa Wola is that village where he was born, but he actually lived here because his father got a position of French teacher in Warsaw. So they moved to this big city, to Warsaw. His father was French, so this name Chopin is French actually, and his mother was Polish. So half Polish, half French, born in Poland, but he died in France. He died when he was only 39 years old because of tuberculosis. Like many other very talented artists, Chopin died young. He was never a very rich person. He was never a very happy person. Not happily in love most of the time. And he became really famous afterwards, like many other very talented artists. And for 20 years he lived in Poland. For another almost 20 years he lived in France. When he was dying, he knew that it would not be possible to come back to Poland and to be buried in Poland, because Poland was not free. We were occupied at that time by 3 countries at the same time. 3 parts of Poland under 3 occupants. This part of Poland under Russian occupation. And the occupants didn't welcome here famous artists, Polish leaders of Polish resistance, those who symbolized Polish culture. So Chopin was not the only Polish artist living in France on exile, and he knew that he would never be back in his homeland, so he asked his sister to take out his heart and to bring it back to Poland. So you can find his tomb in Paris. He is buried at Père Lachaise cemetery, but his heart is in Warsaw. And later on, I will point you a church where Chopin's heart is buried. And don't worry, this heart was taken out after he died, so it didn't hurt that much. And the heart is like a symbol of patriotic feelings. Heart is where his home was, and his home was here, not in France. And the statue you can see here represents Chopin, willow tree, and they both form harp shape. It's like harp, you see. Chopin composed mainly for a piano, not for harp. But piano, it would not be easy to represent a piano in a monument like this, so it's just harp as a symbol of music. Original statue, which was like this exactly, was destroyed during the war. So this is the copy of that statue we had before the war in this park. The German occupants destroyed all the statues representing Polish heroes, Polish artists. And Chopin happened to be their first victim. Right after the occupation began, they came to the park. It was not a battle, they just came to the park to destroy this statue. And there were no concerts, no Chopin's music during the war. The Germans were probably afraid of this music. Maybe you heard this saying, Chopin's music is like cannons in flower beds. So it's apparently like flowers, like those roses, gentle, romantic music, but it is also very powerful and very much inspiring for everybody, but maybe especially for Polish people, because this is a music based on Polish folk music. You probably know some Chopin's compositions like Mazurka, that's a Polish dance, traditional dance. Polonaise, that's Polish dance. Actually, Polonais means Polish in French. And many other compositions inspired by Polish folk songs, dances, Christmas carols. We can easily recognize them in his compositions. So although he lived abroad, but he remembered the music he had listened to when he was young in Poland. And right after the war, the statue was reconstructed in the same style, in the same shape. It looks the same, although it is not the same. We come to this park not only to look at the statue, but also to listen to his music. On Sunday, we have a piano concerts here. Every Sunday, they bring the piano. The piano is by the statue. People sit on those benches among red roses, and they can enjoy Chopin's music, if weather permits. But you see what's going on. The weather is changeable. This is what we can tell for sure about the weather. And you never know. So there are also concerts, indoor concerts for tourists. In every evening there are concerts in those historical buildings. Will you have concerts also? No?
Yes.
Yes, oh yes.
Tonight.
Tonight. Uh-huh. So there are concerts in those palaces, and you can always find something. You can always listen to Chopin's music while being in Warsaw. So no problem. This park is very big. You see, this is a very nice place, very big park, almost 200 acres. So we are not going to see everything in this park, just some parts like this Chopin statue. And this is, we call it Royal Łazienki Garden. Why Royal Łazienki Garden? Because it was originally a private garden of our king, Stanislas Augustus, who built his residence, summer palace in this area. This was his private garden, but now that's a big park open to the public. There is a fence around the park, so there are gates and guards. It is a safe place. Even, they close it for night. Late in the evening they close, they open in the morning, and we can visit this park, we can walk around, but for instance, we are not allowed to picnic on the grass.
Well, I really enjoyed this park. I thought it was quite beautiful, and that statue of Chopin was really something.
Wasn't it nice? Wouldn't it have been just wonderful to have been able to sit there and listen to the concert?
We missed it
right
by
there.
a day.
Yes,
This was Monday.
yeah.
They had
Well,
done
it's
it the day
probably
before.
packed anyway on Sundays.
I wouldn't,
don't
if
you
it hadn't been
suppose?
raining, right? Well, we're going to go to an area now where we're seeing some very large buildings. Now, these were private homes in earlier days, but of course, I'm sure with the communist regime that they came in and, as we talked a little bit earlier, converted all of these into various office buildings. And I think that's what they are today. She was telling us that most of these buildings that had been private residences now house other things besides,
they're
private,
so
a private residence, I should
Yeah,
say.
so stately, so
Oh,
beautiful.
beautiful.
The
Absolutely
architecture
gorgeous,
is
yeah.
just beautiful.
Just really nice. But then we come upon one that is a newer building, and if you look over here, and you can see,
Ugly.
of course, it's the American Embassy.
Oh, it is not ugly, really, but
No,
it
no,
is
it's not
in
as beautiful.
comparison.
Yeah, it's not as
yes,
beautiful as some of the other
yeah.
buildings. We're going to get to an area now where there are some older buildings yet.
In this section, you can imagine, you can see what Warsaw was like originally. 100 years ago, for instance, because these houses, although they were also a bit damaged, but they were not destroyed totally. So this is old style, not Soviet, but Warsaw style. To the right, you can see 4 columns under balcony and still bullet holes in those 4 columns on your right. Bullet holes must be war memories, because the war for us, for Warsaw, lasted for almost 6 years, German occupation. And in 1944, 5th year of this occupation, Warsaw people started uprising against German occupants. So there were heavy fightings in this city for 2 months, and this is when those bullet holes were made. 3 Crosses Square is here. 3 Crosses Square. In the middle of the square there is a church of St. Alexander. St. Alexander Church, and to the right you can see a new building. There is a lot of construction in this city now. And for instance, this building, you can see they are about to finish actually this house to the right. They just opened first stores on the first floor, and they are finishing and cleaning upper floors. There will be offices there. And most of those new buildings you can see in this city, those buildings under construction, you can see to the left, construction. This city is 700 years old, but it's been our capital for about 400 years. And originally our capital was in Kraków. Kraków is a beautiful city in southern Poland, and you will visit Kraków, nice place. Kraków was not destroyed during the war, not at all. In the very heart of this country, in central Poland. So this is why 400 years ago, this city you are visiting now was made our capital. People of Kraków don't like Warszawa because they are jealous. They lost capital. They say it was big mistake to leave Kraków.
And we will return to Krakow next week. Not Krakow, no, back to Warsaw, I'm sorry. But anyway, if you're interested in any of our trips, give Betty a call at
488-7443.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.